Joe Askren here with drjoebrews.com. We are at Ulele Spring Brewery in Tampa for our next neural download. It's on the Riverwalk just north of downtown Tampa. Their head brewer, Tim Shackton, comes from an impressive hospitality lineage. Both his grandfather and uncle are connected to the brewing industry. Tim apprenticed at Hops Grill and Brewery after serving in the Marines and is just a wealth of knowledge, as you'll see. He's been mentoring our brewing certificate students for years. His brewing assistant, Tom O'Neill, is a graduate of the USF program. The Ulele Springs Brewery opened up in 2014. I gotta say, this venue here on the Riverwalk is absolutely beautiful. The outside beer garden has a European festive vibe with a magnificent view of the Hillsborough River. Before we get inside the brew house, if you'd like to find out more about our brewing community, click on the link in the description for more information. Now let's meet Tim and his team and see what they're going to show us. Joe Askren here with drjoebrews.com. We are so happy to be in Tampa, Florida today. We're at Ulele Springs Brewery. I'm with Tim Shackton. Couldn't be in better hands to learn about brewing. Tim's been doing it for decades. Thomas is also, he graduated from our program about 7 years ago, USF Brewing Arts program. Thomas is incredible. And then Megan has just finished our program. She's interning right now with Tim. And gosh, what are we going to learn about today? We're going to learn about the mashing step, which is one of the most important steps, one of the earlier steps in brewing. We're making an incredible lager beer here at Ulele. They're famous for their lagers. Tim, thanks so much. Let's get in there, shall we?
You got it.
Excellent.
Here we are in the brewery. We've already milled the grain, and you can watch that video I made on how we actually did that. Now his team is going to show us how they mash in and show us this complete mashing step.
They're going to go up on the brew stand. They're going to open up the water. Open valves open, closed valves closed. You want to make sure all your valves are shut.
Right.
You're going to build a bed of water in the mash tun above the mash screens, at least 2 inches. Because as you start dropping, you don't want it to dough up right at the screen. Because what will happen is it'll get stuck.
Yeah.
And you'll be running your pump. You'll be going, what the heck's going on? Why is this wort not flowing? And you need to have clean, healthy wort flow in order to get the best possible extraction. So they're going to build that base of strike water. Then they're going to open up the grist case collar.
Okay.
The grain will start to fall through the collar. And if you see up top, directly below where you open up that grain,
Yeah.
there is an intermix valve that will spray the water onto the grain as it drops. That will prevent a lot of dust kick up too.
Gotcha.
So of course, when you're doing that, if you get really good at it, you can look back into the rear of your tank, adjust your flow rate, and you know with the rate whether it's going to be a healthy mash on the bottom. If it's flowing too slow, you'll see dried grains start to form on the bed where the grain drops. That's where you need to increase your flow.
Increase the flow.
You're increasing
Keeping it wet.
If it's too wet, you're going to look at the bed of grain and you're going to be able to tell if you take a mash paddle or if you have an automatic paddle, you can stir the mash. Remember, the size of the mash, the consistency of the water is very important to the health of the process. It can, once you set it right, it will be a path towards success.
So he just opened up that door.
Go on up and check it out. So, again, Tim was telling me, so you set that base of water at the bottom before you drop the grain down.
Yeah.
To ensure it not getting stuck, I guess, or
Yeah.
caking up down there.
Those grains will kind of embed into the false bottom.
Got it.
Also at the same time, I want this thermometer here, and I've got my hot liquor coming in. So I've got hot water coming in here. I inside my cold water intermix valve.
Okay.
So I'm adding cold water to get to that ideal temperature.
Okay.
And monitoring that here the whole time.
That's kind of beautiful,
Hey.
man. So you can kind
How's it going?
of just keep an eye on that, and you
What do you
have the
think?
use. It's just like a
Pretty
faucet
good
at
so far.
home. You
Let's see
can
what
kind
this
of
finished product
pick the
is, right?
temperature that's right for you, but in this case, right for the recipe. Very cool.
After I started doing this, maybe look at every sink a little bit differently.
Yeah, exactly, right?
So I'm trying to monitor
Well,
the flow rate
it's his
going in right,
idea.
so I have the right water to drain concentration inside. I'm trying to monitor the hot and cold water coming in to make sure that I have the right temperature.
Right
And
flow.
constantly stirring to look for dough balls and
Wow, okay.
make sure that that consistency is exactly what I want.
So you said about 900 pounds of grain or something like that in this.
Yeah.
So how long does it? This is a 15-gallon batch.
In the world.
So how long does this
Really?
process you're doing here take, as far as watching everything and stirring and?
The mashing, I feel like really just varies on how much grain's going in. It shouldn't take more than like 15 minutes or so, but that's a very rough estimate.
Okay, that's pretty quick actually.
Something like the IPA that's closer to 2,000 pounds of grain can take significantly more time.
Right on.
So very important to continue to stir here to avoid any dough balls forming as the grain is being mixed with the water. A lot of big breweries, they'll have mechanical arms that'll go around and stir and do this phase here, but at a lot of smaller craft breweries, and certainly this one here, you see Thomas is doing it all by hand. He's got Megan helping him here. He talked about the difference between mash temp and strike temp. Of course, the strike temp is the hotter temperature when the water is combined with the grain, and then it's cooled down, and then you're trying to get it to that mash temperature. As you see, the strike temp is 165, and the mash temp is around 149 to 151. It does vary from recipe to recipe, as he mentioned. The biggest part about controlling the temperatures and make sure you don't get too hot. If you get too hot, you can kill the amylase, which is not good. Then you don't have starch conversion. Tim seemed to love having Megan here. I think she was getting a lot out of the internship. He would love for her to stay on. Thomas has been here 7 years. Loves working for Tim, and he brought up a really interesting point. He said he loves the ability to be able to make the beer and then also to go to the front and actually pour a customer a beer. And he is the same person that makes the beer, so that's a pretty cool dynamic.
Yeah, that's like those little tweaks even of like middle of winter when I come in here and it's 50 degrees versus middle of August when I come in here and it's 106 degrees. I'm gonna adjust my strength temp water for that. All just the things you learn in experience. Like,
Wow. Yeah.
technically what we're doing is 2 ingredients, it's water and grain, but those little things kind of
So many things. You're right. Yeah. So the atmosphere, so the temperature in the room, it's huge.
Million little factors.
And do we have AC in here or no?
Nope.
Yeah. So it gets hot. Most breweries do not have AC.
Keeps me looking athletic.
That's it.
Hey, get Megan in there. Get her hands dirty. There you go.
Yeah, I really like to get at that right now, so that's kind of what I'm shooting for.
Excellent. Thomas and Megan finished up combining the grain with the water, and he was talking about how it's so important to do this this mixing so you didn't have any inconsistencies in temperature. You didn't have hot and cold pockets inside that mash tun there. So it's important to do that so you have one consistent temperature. Tim's gonna now talk about what Thomas was doing earlier when he was combining the hot and cold water in the intermix phase. He's also going to talk about purchasing grain and just different improvements in grain overall for the brewer.
That's why you have of course, your temperature is important. You have a temperature gauge where you have the intermix, the hot liquor tank, which is the hot water, the cold liquor tank, which is the refrigerated cold water. They're both coming together. You want to make sure that you set your set point right. Some breweries are different. Some people have the option for decoction mashes. We're going to use, in this particular instance, a single step infusion mash. In most cases, you're going to get a great quality extraction with single mash because over the years, the malt has dramatically improved. It becomes very difficult to have a poor quality mash at this point. You just got to mind your P's and Q's.
You've seen that change
Oh yeah.
over the decades, right?
Oh,
That's
yes,
interesting.
indeed. And of course, in this new market, you have the world at your fingertips. I tell guests all the time, you know, A brewer can sit at a table, look through a catalog, and order a pallet of the finest German malt. It will hit the production floor in less than 24 hours, right? This wasn't the case 30 plus years ago. And of course, the malt science has changed a lot too. The consistency and quality of the malt has improved dramatically.
What are some of the biggest changes?
Well, consistent of extraction rates, consistent improvement in flavor, more consistent moisture content of the grain, right? And of course, seasonal availability. Having a global market, you have access to raw materials worldwide at any different time, many different times. So this, again, wasn't the case when I first started out in the business.
So Ulele is just a wonderful place for our students to do their internship. We're going to hear briefly from Megan, and then Thomas is going to talk a little bit about his internship. He still works for Tim and is enjoying it quite a bit. And then we'll just close it out, Tim talking about the internship process and everything that goes on with our interns at Ulele.
How far into the internship are you?
I've done 2 days. So I did
Wow.
one beer, which was IPA last week, and then on Monday we did some tank transfer.
That's excellent.
Second beer.
Isn't Tim great?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
great
very
place to
fun.
learn. And then Thomas, tell me about you real quick. You're one of the brewers here, of course, at Ulele.
Yeah, and actually a graduate of the USF
That's right.
Brewing Arts program. So I've been here for 7 years with Tim.
Fantastic.
Didn't really know a specialty malt from baseball when I walked in the door, and now I've made every beer on the menu and just love doing it. You know?
That says a lot that you've been here that long,
Oh, yeah.
right out of the program.
Yeah.
So, man, we're one big happy USF Bulls family here. So,
I would like to say that Tom interned with me for over 5 years, and he's been with me ever since.
unbelievable.
It's been a long internship. There's a lot to
Right.
learn, right? And
Yeah.
you can't just come in every day and cook a bunch of steaks on a grill and say, this is how you do it.
Right.
The process takes many weeks. But as a standalone brewmaster, I would say Tom is qualified to lead any brewery in the entire nation.
Hope you enjoyed listening to Tim here at Ulele Springs Brewery. The mashing in of your grain is a critical one. Doing all the right things here can set you up for a successful brew day. Again, if you'd like to find out more about our brewing community, click on the link in this video description. And if you want more hands-on industry sessions like this one, you'll find all of them on my YouTube page. Also, search USF Brewing Arts to find out more about our certificate program. Go Bulls!